you think that when you do.
This what I'm talking about right here. The ambassadors. Tami LaTrell.
Hey everybody, what's up? It's your girl Tami LaTrell, multi-platinum songwriter and recording artist. I have not done one of these vlogs in a very long time, but I'm trying to get better with this, reaching out to you guys via video, because I have lots and lots of questions that come to me on a day-to-day about the business of songwriting and being in the music business. I'm so grateful to have had the experience of working behind the scenes, from the creation of writing songs and working with producers and stuff, and I feel like, you know, I definitely want to share my knowledge to help someone out there. So I'm here to help, and let's get started. The first thing I want to talk about is writer's block. Now, I have an organization which is what I base all of my education and curriculum off of when I'm doing my songwriting workshops, and that's called the writer's block. But there is a such thing as writer's block as songwriters and authors, even producers and just people who create in general. Sometimes when you're going through so much, you can get writer's block. You can get to the point to where it's hard for you to create. And so through my experiences, I put together a list that I talk about in my music workshops, and I want to share it with you on how to help you deal with getting over writer's block and getting back into your creative space, because it's so very important for someone like you to have a great gift of songwriting or writing as an author, or being a musical genius and being a producer coming up with hot beats, or being a rapper and you writing your own lyrics. You have to have that creative space, and it's mind-boggling when you can't create. So here are a few of my tips. All right, my first tip is changing your scene. So sometimes before you begin writing, you need to find a quiet place, envision something like, you know, a place that you would like to escape to, whether it's a beach or an island, maybe in your backyard, under a tree, you know, something that, you know, is easy for you to flow well in a more relaxed environment. You may need to light a candle, set the mood, get some soft music playing, and maybe dim the lights and just kind of shut everything else out. Get in a quiet place, and just the track that you're trying to create with, replay the track over and over again until you just literally zone out into the music. I have done this several times. I make sure my cell phone is off. I'm disconnected from Facebook and Twitter and all these other social networks, because this day and age, you really have to unplug so that you can plug into your gifts. We're stimulated by so much, especially with social networks now and this whole digital age that we're in. That's just only going to grow and increase. But you have to know that as a creator, our gifts are not stimulated until we allow ourselves to really, really just shut everything else out and get into what we do. And that's create. It's divine. It comes from a different place. And so that's why it's so important for you guys to tap into that energy. Another thing I would suggest is taking a walk. Sometimes you just need to clear your head. You know, imagine, you know, your head being like a garbage disposal. That's what I talk about. And it's just filled with stress, issues, today's conversations, phone calls, your to-do list, your business, and everybody else's business who called you with their mess. So taking a walk, believe it or not, will help you revitalize your mind and become stimulated by nature around you. You need to surround yourself with nature. You know, be stimulated by just being outside, laying under a tree, under a blanket, just listening to the birds chirping, just different environments instead of being plugged into your computer or your social networks and on your BlackBerry and on your iPhone, or watching TV, watching Love and Hip Hop. You know, you really, really have to take that time to be in a different environment. And I have experienced that taking a walk or even a swift jog will kind of help you And we just become so engulfed in our life. Sometimes we forget that we can pull the most relaxation from being outside, listening to the wind, observing the trees, and paddling the gravel with our feet. So hope you guys can use that tip. Another thing, stress. Stress is one of the key factors that limits our creative abilities. And unfortunately, this day and age, a lot of us deal with stress. We deal with it in different ways. Some people know how to handle it positively. Some people let it take over their lives. But I tell you this, stress will not win in my life. I've made that declaration that if I am stressed out over something, there's always a solution to the stress. Either get rid of it, make a decision to, eliminate it out of your life. Or, fight back and make sure that you take control over it and don't let it control you, because it will shut you down. Next thing you know, you're sinking into a deep depression, you're closing the world out, and you just really not being productive, and you don't ever want to be in that state. So I'll share with you guys a story. EMI Music Publishing would hold conferences for us, and each year we would have a keynote speaker. And this year was Terry Lewis of the legendary Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. He spoke at the conference, and he said some things that I will never forget, and I always keep dear to my heart. He said that before you can do this thing called music, you need to make sure that all the other areas in your life is straight. He said stress becomes distractions, and distractions become noise. And that noise from the stress, they clash with music. It doesn't work. So if your stress level is high, it becomes noise in your head, and it's hard for you to adapt and create and be a part of music. It just doesn't mix. So that was one of the deepest quotes that I had ever heard, and I take it with me on a consistent basis. And sometimes I will take a break from the studio if I know that I'm under so much stress, because I don't, for one, want to sit there and waste a whole bunch of time just trying to force something. At the end of the day, when I do write, I write my best works when it just flows. It comes easily to me. I should never have to force anything. So make sure you guys are eliminating stress factors in your life, or at least getting control of them, so that you can be creative in other areas that God has blessed you with. My last tip is to get inspired. It's nothing like listening to one of your favorite artists or one of your favorite lyricists or one of your favorite songwriters' songs and just letting it touch your soul. A few of my favorite artists from back in the day that I constantly listened to were, of course, Aaliyah. Y'all know I love Brandy and Mary J. Blige. I listen to a lot of Faith Evans. My mom raised me listening to Anita Baker, SOS Band, Yolanda Adams, Karen Clark Sheard, and then Joe and R. Kelly, Carl Thomas. I can go on and on and on, but that's the era of songs and artists that I grew up in. So sometimes listening to these artists can really help you refocus. When you listen to the energy behind their records, when you listen to the lyrics, you listen to the emotion, it helps you to kind of refocus and gain back your creativity through that inspiration. It also puts things back into perspective on why you have a passion for the art of songwriting and where it all came from. When you listen to songs that really reach your soul, that just kind of rejuvenates the energy that you may feel like is lost. Jam your favorite records, put them on full blast. Oh, the Gap Band. The Gap Band. A little bit of Earth, Wind, and Fire. That's kind of way before my time, but my parents listen to it all the time. So sometimes you just have to kind of get in that element and listen to other songs that, really dive in deep. And how could I even forget Michael Jackson? Okay? Michael Jackson's music, his lyrics, the beats, just the rhythm of the drums and the percussion and the guitars and the pianos. All of those sounds combined with the singing and the lyrics, it just made the perfect work, complete masterpieces. And so That's why it's so important to remember the songs and the artists that you appreciate and that you love and that you're inspired by. So that anytime you ever get in a situation where you're feeling down, you can play their music and it helps to bring your spirits back up and get you to start writing again and get you to start creating again. So above all, just listen to songs that you love and feel good about them and take that good energy and make a great record. So that's all for me tonight. I enjoyed speaking with you guys. If you have questions, please feel free to comment below. And once I get your question, I will respond back with a video response. My name is Tami LaTrell, multi-platinum songwriter and recording artist. You can check more of me out and my music at TamiLaTrell.com. And you can also follow me on Twitter at Tami LaTrell. All right, I'll see y'all later. I'm on Instagram, Tami LaTrell, and Facebook, Tami LaTrell Fans. So you can find me pretty much on all the other social networks. And I'll holler at y'all. Peace.
It's time for me to get my things and move.